While day one of free agency is not completely done and in the bag yet, most of the big moves have already happened, and we got a couple of things to talk about. The Atlanta Hawks and the Houston Rockets seem to be both trying to make moves up their respective conferences. We're going to talk about the moves that they made and more teams right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything NBA related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go to get into this content for today, y'all. So there are a couple of teams that have clearly making their move, not just to be good in their conference, but they're trying to make a power move in their conference. The Houston Rockets are a team that I have been so surprised by what they've done so far. They first of all, of course, we all know they traded for Kevin Durant, but today on the first day of free agency, they signed Dorian Finney-Smith to a 4-year deal and Clint Capela to a 3-year deal. Now, the Clint Capela deal is one that you could easily look at and say, that's a long time for over 30-year-old center who, a lot of his game is kind of based off athleticism, but he is still a lob threat. He's still a rim protector in some ways as well. It's not like they're going to need him to play a whole lot of minutes down there either. But the Dorian Finney-Smith signing is one that I look at this and I say, this was exactly what this team, in losing Jalen Green, right, to bring in Kevin Durant, you still needed maybe a little bit of wing depth, and to bring in somebody like Dorian Finney-Smith, who can shoot a little bit, he can defend a little bit. Like, Dorian Finney-Smith is going to instantly be probably a crowd favorite there with that Houston Rockets team, and I think that this is probably one of the most underrated moves that it can go completely over and past some people's heads. But when you look at it, I know that he's a player that hasn't really averaged a whole lot of points per game or anything like that, but like the combination of the defense, the production out on the wing that he brings, to this team. You look at for his career, 8-point per game score, 43% from the field, 36% from three for his career. But over the last 3 years in the NBA, he's shot the ball almost over 40% from the field. So this is from 3-point range. This is a guy that's really coming in and adding, and I love what the Houston Rockets have done so far in the offseason. The trade for Kevin Durant. They've now signed Dorian Finney-Smith and Clint Capela. They re-signed Steven Adams, Aaron Holiday, Jeff Green, Jabari Smith, Jason Tate, and Fred VanVleet. This has been a team now that has really locked themselves in, and they are trying to make that move in the Western Conference and show that they're adding depth. And I think, to me, the way that I take what the Houston Rockets have done is that they are really preparing themselves to do battle with the OKC Thunder. They have now tremendous depth on that team. They have a lot of defenders all over, from the guard defenders to wing defenders to in the paint defenders. Like, they have defense everywhere, and they have depth everywhere just about now. Like, this is a team that is so sound from top to bottom. And maybe I'm just buying into the hype a little bit too much, but the Houston Rockets have absolutely, in my personal opinion, upgraded their team so much. And this is already a team that won over 50 games last season. You still have young players that are developing in Şengün, in Jabari Smith, and Amen Thompson. You have so many players that are still, Tari Eason has yet to really scratch the surface of what he can be. You have so many players that are still young and developing on that team. You now have a nice mix of veterans with Fred VanVleet, Kevin Durant, Clint Capela, even Dorian Finney-Smith. You have Steven Adams. You have so much depth on this team. This is just a really good place for this team to be at overall, and I absolutely love the place that this team has been at absolutely so far in free agency and the moves that they've made. But then let's flip it to the Eastern Conference. I know that not everybody's going to agree with me on this, but I think the Atlanta Hawks have done themselves a huge service here. When you look at the Eastern Conference, with Boston being weaker, the Pacers being weaker, of course you have teams like the Orlando Magic who should be stronger this year with the additions that they've made, right? You got the Cleveland Cavaliers who've kept their team together. Like, it's not just going to be a cakewalk, but the Atlanta Hawks have really put themselves in a position to fight and compete in that Eastern Conference. Today, as far as their signings, they signed Nickeil Alexander-Walker in a sign-and trade deal with the Minnesota Timberwolves to a 4-year deal. And this is a guy that can shoot the ball. He can defend. You add him into what you already have there in Dyson Daniels. You still have Jalen Johnson down there. You got the #1 overall pick from last year. You added Kristaps Porziņģis to this also. this is a team has really made a lot of steps. And when you look at what they lost, Clint Capela's gone. Karis LeVert is gone. He signed with the Pistons. Nang's gone, right? He was moved in the 3-team trade. Terrence Mann. But I love what they've added to this team. You still have Trae Young here. This is a team that, with Trae Young's contract extension coming up, they're really trying to give it a go in the Eastern Conference to see where that team can be at. And I, for one, can't be mad at that at all. I love what the Atlanta Hawks have done here. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a good move for them. Kristaps Porziņģis, as long as he can stay healthy, brings exactly what that team's needs. And then even Luke Kennard on a 1-year deal is a fairly cost-controlled contract that brings a player that adds some depth to your team, which you definitely do need. On top of all of that, the Atlanta Hawks have done themselves a really good favor here to be in this Eastern Conference and to see where everything's going to shake out for them. But they got depth now. They got, they also drafted Asa Newell, right? That's something you can't overlook either there as a player that can defend and maybe go out to the wing some as well. He can end up being that long-term 4 next to Jalen Johnson at the 3. I like so much of what the Atlanta Hawks did in this draft. And, oh, by the way, they also picked up an additional first-round pick in the trade, sending Derek Queen to the Pelicans unprotected in 2026. The Atlanta Hawks have done themselves really big favors in what they've done so far here, and you got to love it. But then let's talk about the trade that happened today with the Denver Nuggets trading Michael Porter Jr. To the Brooklyn Nets to get back Cam Johnson. That was a really good move. I think Cam Johnson, younger than Michael Porter Jr., bringing in, a lot of what Michael Porter Jr. brought, but as a player that's going to stay healthy a little bit more. Michael Porter Jr. has made some big shots and made some big plays and was very good for them in that championship run too. Not to crap on him at all, right? But I think when you look at what the Denver Nuggets are trying to do here and them also trying to take advantage of what their playoff run was last year, now you bring in Cameron Johnson. You have him and Aaron Gordon. You still have Christian Braun there. Cam Johnson at being 29 years old, who came off an 18 point per game season last year. A lot of people have been wanting to see what Cam Johnson would look like on a winning team. And I said get younger. They actually get older. Cam Johnson's actually 2 years older than Michael Porter Jr. Didn't know that. But okay. But you flip that. And you now have Cam Johnson there. Michael Porter Jr. is going to go to Brooklyn. Reportedly, they're super excited about having Michael Porter Jr. there. We'll see what happens. But Cam Johnson now goes over to the Denver Nuggets. You look at the Denver Nuggets also today signing Bruce Brown to a 1-year deal, a former fan favorite there during their championship run. And so this is a really solid roster here now with the Denver Nuggets, and I like a lot of what they've done as well when it comes down to it. The Denver Nuggets are they're going to try to make a go. They're going to try to put something around Nickeil Jokic there and be a team that can be solid and make some moves there, and we'll see what they can do. We shall see what they can do. Another team that I think is really making their move in the Eastern Conference and is going to be better than last year, especially if they have more health this season as well, is the Orlando Magic. Getting Tyus Jones here today on a 1-year deal, I think is a really good move for them. Getting some extra depth there with Suggs, and whatever happens with Suggs there at point guard, they needed some more point guard depth. You get Tyus Jones, who's really good as far as point to turnover ratio, really solid passer, can hit the 3 when needed as well, which is important in the Orlando Magic's offense. You add to that the acquisition of Desmond Bane. I know that they didn't make the number of moves some other teams did, but I think this is a really solid move for them overall from top to bottom here for the Orlando Magic and what they're trying to bring to that team as well. I think that they've made some really, really good moves there also. But then you also got to look at the Sacramento Kings. We know the Kings were looking for a point guard. They signed Dennis Schröder to a deal there. I think this is really good for them. Solid deal. And Dennis Schröder is the kind of point guard that you want with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan being there for you. I think this is a solid enough deal for them also. And I'm not mad at this one. I think this is a really good deal for them. You just got to see how things are going to shake out overall. But I think this was a solid deal for them today as well in free agency, and they made themselves a move. But, you look at the number of moves that were around here. There were moves all top to bottom all day long. It did not stop. The moves just did not stop today. They didn't disappoint. You got Brook Lopez going to the Clippers, where some people thought he was on his way to the Lakers. Wrong, LA team. He ends up going to the Clippers on a 2-year, $18 million deal. The Clippers are another team that hopes that they're going to be able to be a contender this year. How much they will in a deeper Western Conference, in a conference where it seems like everybody's making their way to go at it. We shall see what happens there, but they make their move as well. The Spurs get Luke Kornet there as well on a 4-year, $41 million deal. To get Luke Kornet, to the San Antonio Spurs. Listen, the Spurs are a team that if Wemby stays healthy and these players continue to develop at the rate that they've already had for this Spurs team, I know that they haven't made a whole bunch of like big, huge acquisitions when it comes down to it. They drafted Carter Bryant. Of course, they had a great draft pick as well in VJ Edgecombe coming to that team. Also, you add into that what they already had in Victor Wembanyama down there, Jeremy Sohan, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, all the players that they already had there. They have started making a nice move and building a nice core there. And I really like what they're building here as well. They have so many young players that all can grow and develop together that eventually it could get a place that the Spurs, and I think this is a place where in the modern second tax apron and things like that, you want players here that can really, you have to ask yourself what is going to happen. I said VJ Edgecombe, they got Dylan Harper. Wrong player. They got Dylan Harper there. But you look at what they have added to this team and how they can grow and develop players over time. Like eventually, I do think they may have too many young players where they're going to have to let some players go, trade them for some assets, things like that. But they are so far away from having to do that. That's going to be fun just to get to that place for this team. But the Spurs just continue to get richer. The Spurs just continue to add to the roster, fill that thing out a little bit more, and just see where it's all going to go for them. But overall, like those are some of the biggest moves today in free agency. Of course, there are a lot of smaller ones as well. More that are probably going to come in as well as we continue to go. Kevin Looney is going to the Pelicans today. Didn't expect that. Oh, one that I did miss as well. D'Angelo Russell going on a 2-year deal to the Dallas Mavericks for $13 million. That's really good money for D'Angelo Russell. I know D'Angelo Russell has his naysayers, and that's understandable, and it has his detractors, things like that. But D'Angelo Russell is still a player that now filling in for Kyrie until Kyrie recovers. That's going to be a player that can really still bring a lot to that Dallas Mavericks team. And having that point guard player, I think, is going to be really important for them. We had mentioned them as being a potential suitor for D'Angelo Russell before. Seems like he's going to go there now, be really good there. Kevin Porter Jr. got himself a 2-year, $11 million deal to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks after making his return back to the NBA as well. So it's been a really fun night of sports. Ty Jerome got a 3-year, $28 million deal to stay with to go to the Memphis Grizzlies. So, that's really good to be with the Memphis Grizzlies. I think you look at him, he has a player option in year 3 as well. That's a really good deal for the Memphis Grizzlies that they continue to add depth as they want to make some noise in the Western Conference as well coming up this year. And overall, like, it's just been a night of really smart moves. LaRavia goes to the Lakers as well, right? He goes to the Lakers on a 2-year, $12 million deal. So that's a move where the Lakers will continue to add some depth there as well. So teams have just found themselves depth. They found some surprising players. I love the Dorian Finney-Smith out of 4-year, $53 million deal to the Houston Rockets. As I said at the top of the show, I love that deal. Paul Reed stays in Detroit on a 2-year, $11 million deal. I think that's really good value for him and what he's going to bring to that team. But one of the biggest signings today, of course, is Jaren Jackson Jr. gets a $240 million max deal to stay with the Memphis Grizzlies as well as they keep just locking in their core. They said they were going to lock in their core. After that trade of Desmond Bane, it was to keep the players that they had there. And so we'll see what happens with that, man. Overall, this has been a night of just fun deals. Jordan Clarkson, almost forgot about him. Jordan Clarkson gets waived. He gets a buyout with the Utah Jazz, and now is expected to sign with the New York Knicks after he clears waivers in 48 hours, right? So we already know where he's going to go. No word on DeAndre Ayton yet today, but Jordan Clarkson's going to the New York Knicks. They could really use that scoring punch as well. I still think they need a little bit more defense, but, it is what it is. I'll shut up when it comes down to that. But there are a lot of teams that had some really good moves today. Let me know which team that you think had made the best move. One of the underrated moves of today as well is that Nigel Hayes-Davis, the 2025 EuroLeague champion and Finals MVP in the Turkish Cup, and he was the Turkish Cup champion and MVP as well, signed a 1-year contract to the Phoenix Suns. Keep in mind, the Phoenix Suns are still trying to find depth down there when it comes down to it. This is a really good deal for him as well. He gets to come over to the NBA, show what he can bring. So overall, hey, man, things are looking good around the NBA. There have been a lot of moves, a lot of hot topics. I know we hit on a lot today in a condensed amount of time. We're going to keep going through free agency. Once everything is done, we'll have a full recap episode, try to get all the guys on that to kind of figure out, vote on things and how they were. But thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We're the number one spot for everything basketball related. I'll see you guys the next time I feel like making a video, probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.